On August 14, 2005, Helios Airways Flight 522 prepared for a routine journey from Cyprus to Prague, with a stop in Athens. The Boeing 737, Olympia, stood ready at Larnaca International Airport, boarding 115 passengers and 6 crew. The day was bright, the mood light, no one suspected disaster. But a critical error had already occurred. During maintenance, a pressurization switch was left in manual instead of auto. The pilots, Captain Hans-Jürgen Merten and First Officer Pampos Charalambous, missed this during pre-flight checks. At 9:07 a.m., Flight 522 took off, climbing into the sky. As the plane ascended, the cabin failed to pressurize. Passengers settled in, unaware that the air inside was thinning with every passing minute. The aircraft, a marvel of engineering, was now vulnerable to a single overlooked detail. In aviation, even a minor mistake can have catastrophic consequences. The crew and passengers were flying straight into danger, with no idea their fate was already sealed. The pressurization switch, a small dial, now held deadly significance. The checklist didn't require the pilots to confirm its position. The stage was set for a silent, invisible killer to take control. The air they needed was about to run out, high above the ground. Flight 522 was on a collision course with tragedy. As Flight 522 climbed past 12,000 feet, a warning horn blared in the cockpit. The alarm, identical to a takeoff warning, confused the pilots. They radioed Helios operations, reporting the alarm and strange warning lights. On the ground, an engineer asked if the pressurization panel was set to auto, but the captain, already affected by hypoxia, didn't respond clearly. This was the last contact with the cockpit. At 18,000 feet, oxygen masks dropped for passengers and crew. The masks provided only 12 minutes of oxygen, enough for an emergency descent, but the pilots were already incapacitated. Hypoxia set in quietly, causing confusion, then unconsciousness. One by one, everyone on board lost consciousness as the emergency oxygen ran out. The aircraft became a silent tomb, flying on autopilot with 121 souls aboard. With no one in control, Flight 522's autopilot followed its programmed route toward Athens. Air traffic controllers grew alarmed as repeated calls went unanswered. Suspecting a hijacking, the Hellenic Air Force scrambled 2 F-16s to intercept. The fighter pilot saw the first officer slumped over the controls. The captain's seat was empty. Through the cabin windows, passengers sat motionless, oxygen masks hanging uselessly. The F-16s reported this was no hijacking but a tragedy in progress. The plane circled over the island of Kea, running on autopilot and dwindling fuel. For over an hour, the F-16s shadowed the ghost plane, powerless to intervene. The world watched helpless as the aircraft continued its fateful journey. The autopilot kept it steady, but the end was inevitable. The aircraft's fuel was running out. The ghost plane drifted over the Aegean, a chilling reminder of aviation's risks. All anyone could do was wait for the inevitable. Suddenly, the F-16 pilots saw movement in the cockpit. Andreas Prodromou, a flight attendant with a pilot's license, had used portable oxygen to stay conscious. He entered the cockpit, waved at the F-16s, and tried to take control. Unable to reach anyone by radio, he faced the impossible task of saving the plane. At 11:50 a.m., the left engine flamed out from fuel exhaustion. Autopilot disengaged. Prodromou fought to control the jet with one engine, steering away from Athens. 10 minutes later, the right engine died. The plane became a powerless glider, descending rapidly. Prodromou stayed at the controls, fighting until the end. At 12:04 p.m., Flight 522 crashed near Grammatico, killing all 121 on board. His heroic actions may have prevented a greater tragedy on the ground. In the final moments, courage met catastrophe. The story of Flight 522 became one of both loss and heroism. The crash of Helios Flight 522 shocked the world and led to sweeping changes in aviation safety. Investigators traced the disaster to the pressurization switch left in manual, compounded by confusing alarms and missed procedures. Boeing and regulators responded with new warning lights and revised checklists to prevent similar tragedies. The disaster exposed the dangers of human error and design flaws. The 121 lives lost became a catalyst for change, making air travel safer for millions. The legacy of Flight 522 is a somber reminder: vigilance and clear systems save lives. Their story is a permanent lesson written in the sky. Above the clouds, safety is never routine.